Hi Dan, so this week we're going to do the Reformation. So that means the big changes that were happening in religion and the changes Cromwell was making and why Henry was unhappy about it, all of those kinds of things. And today we're going to look at opposition to the Reformation. So people who were not happy with the changes that meant they were moving away from Catholicism more towards Protestantism. Now remember, it had been going on for a while because obviously when Henry broke away from the Catholic Church and the Pope, it was because he wanted a divorce from Catherine of Aragon. So now a few years have happened and he now is making even bigger changes with the help of Cromwell and his, other ministers. Now, just some of the changes that were happening was things like nobody was allowed to worship saints anymore, because that is a very Catholic thing to do. Henry made people swear an oath saying that the Pope isn't in charge of religion, Henry is in charge, things like that. And obviously not everybody agreed with him, however some people were more vocal about it than others. So we're going to have a look at 3 different people today who opposed the Reformation. So the first one is Elizabeth Barton, and she is known as the Nun of Kent. Now, when she was 16 years old, she said that she had been visited by the Virgin Mary, and Mary had spoken to her and given her the power to have visions. She said she would go into a trance and she could see things, almost like fortune telling. And one of the things that she saw was that Henry wasn't able to have a son because he'd married his brother's wife. Obviously that's not the thing that you shout about because Henry was concerned about that himself. And she went round shouting these things, telling people all about it, warning people that the king was, unfaithful to the church and all kinds of things. So, as we can guess, she was executed. And because she had refused to sign this oath and state that she believed Henry was the head of the church, she was executed. Very similar was John Fisher. He said he wouldn't support the king's divorce from Catherine of Aragon, which was illegal, and everyone had to do that. And he said that Catherine would stay his legally married wife because his marriage to Anne was invalid. So he was a Catholic, obviously, doesn't believe in divorce. So he hadn't actually done anything wrong at this point. You were allowed to believe this. But after the Acts of Succession, saying that Elizabeth, not Mary, was the rightful queen, everyone had to sign that, and he refused. And you guessed it, he was executed. Another person who opposed the Reformation was Thomas More. So this was only 2 weeks after John Fisher died. Thomas More was executed for the same things, saying that he thought the Protestant threatened the souls of the people of England. So he was obviously very Catholic. He refused to accept the changes to the church and was executed by Henry and his government. So you can have more details about those 3 people in today's lesson, but you might get a question like, describe 2 features of Thomas More. Last year they had described 2 features of the Nun of Kent. So you need to know who these people are, maybe enough to write at least 2 or 3 things about them. You might even get a question like, explain why there were changes, explain why there was opposition to the Reformation. Okay, things like that. So that's the main thing today. Who opposed the Reformation, why, and what happened to them? Any problems, as usual, give me a shout.